Welcome, my beautiful geekies, to the list you actually want to see. This is probably your favorite time of the year, the time you sit down to watch your favorite movie reviewer and see them nominate the top 10 worst films of the year. I just nominated my top 10 best films yesterday, you can check that out on my channel, but now it's time to take revenge. Take revenge on the films that made us salivate in anger, the films that made me want to kill myself more than I usually do, the films that made me disappointed with the fact that I love film, and now it's time to take revenge. It's time to take a shit on them, as much as they took a shit on me. It's easy to sit here and judge and comment on these films. It's fun, for sure, but it's easy. These people, whoever worked on these films, there were thousands of people working on it, and I'm sure they had a rough job. The execution is what I and my fellow movie reviewers comment on, not on the work of these people. I'm sure they had a tough job in accomplishing each and one of these films. Let us not forget that it's easy to sit down and it's much harder to actually make a film, and hopefully it will come out good. These didn't, but these people certainly worked for it. And just like the best films, the worst films unfortunately cannot fit all in 10 spots. So I have some dishonorable mentions. The 1517 to Paris, which started out the year for Clint Eastwood, a disappointment to be sure. Proud Mary. Wow, that was a tough one. Proud Mary, what is that, you ask? Exactly, my point is proven. The Spy Who Dumped Me, another completely unfunny comedy. And last but not least, the movie that I wanted the most to have on the top 10, but there were just 10 movies that were worse. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. That movie gets stupider and stupider the more I think about it. And that is it. Let's start with... And we actually have a tie at number 10, and the reason why these films are at number 10 is not necessarily that the following movies will be worse than these. Truth or Dare and The Hurricane Heist. These films are only at number 10 because, look, they are absolutely awful. This film right here, Truth or Dare, they couldn't even have an opening scene for the film, so they just took the Snapchat stories of their actors who actually went to Mexico to shoot this film and just put it on the opening credits. And this film is trying to pretend it's a real movie, but it's actually just another version of Sharknado without the sharks and with legit good actors trying to do a good work. Look, these films are absolutely atrocious. In other lists, they probably deserve number 1. I will not contest that, but the entertainment value in these is just so fucking amazing. If you haven't seen these films, but for some reason you want to see them, sit down with a group of friends, have a lot of alcohol at your disposal if you are legally old enough to drink, and plan a drinking game to watch these, otherwise you will not get through them. At number 9 is a film I was actually excited for because this director and actor combo has worked out marvelously before. I even had some of their films in my past top 10 best movies, but this time Mile 22, directed by Peter Berg and starring Mark Wahlberg, just didn't work out. Look, Mark Wahlberg is super likable. He's an extremely likable actor. But if you have him playing an extremely unlikable character, the character is going to be more important than the actor, naturally. Then you have Lauren Cohan, who is here doing nothing and should have been the main character of the film because she has some kind of an arc. You have Ronda Rousey. Like, why? At number 8 is The Nutcracker and the Four Realms. This film is awful. It's absolutely awful. The reason why it's only, I guess, a number 8, it's because the protagonist kind of has some promise in her. Even though nothing else works, none of the rest of the actors are doing a good job. Ellen Mirren is bored in this film and she's here doing nothing. And at one point, Keira Knightley eats a piece of her own hair, which is made of cotton candy, but she eats a piece of her own hair. What I'm trying to get at is that that is the most memorable thing about this film. And now at number 7, we start with the films that actually insulted me as an audience member and played me for stupid. And we start with Pacific Rim Uprising. Let me just say that I hate having this film on this list because, number one, I adore the first Pacific Rim, and this film is directed by the man who showran my favorite TV show of all time, so it hurts having this film here, but it certainly deserves it. By the way, spoilers for these worst films of the year, this film has the audacity of having the worst character of the first film coming back, and now he is the villain. And he controls the monsters, and he has been fucking the monster that he kept in his locker, or in his room, I guess. How dumb do you think the audience is? Writer of this movie, who I can't even remember, but I bet he/she is thankful that I don't remember her/his name. And beyond that already being fucking stupid as hell, this film has no giant monsters versus giant robots, which is what you're going to see this movie for, until the last 20 minutes. At number 6, speaking of movies that made me feel stupid and question everything that I was doing at that time, which was sitting down watching this film, is A Wrinkle in Time. Ava DuVernay is a great director. She has directed 2 magnificent movies, one of them a documentary. I am saying a documentary is magnificent, so that shows you how good she is. This film just didn't work. My God, what a bore, what a stupid ass mess, unlikable characters all around, stupid narrative that doesn't make sense, rip-off of a lot of things actually. It ripped off of It. Of all things to rip off of. You're selling this film by putting Chris Pine all over the marketing material, which I can't blame you for. What I can blame you for is by not having Chris Pine in the movie that much. I've read interviews with Ava DuVernay since watching this film, and all that she wanted to go for is really great. Her ideas are great. The execution just messes all that up. Now the top 5, we're getting to the nick of it. We're getting to the point where barely anything in these films work. And starting off the top 5, we have Mortal Engines. It looks beautiful, but this is a classic case of a studio self-sabotaging itself. The marketing for this film, a film in where cities roam the planet in a vast wasteland on giant wheels and consume other cities for survival, where the villain is trying to bring back the old world order by devastating what has been built since the Earth got devastated. The marketing for this film has a girl wearing a scarf covering half of her face in the posters. How do you want to sell this film? What I just told you, how I described this film, is much more interesting than how the studio was selling it, and truth be told is much more interesting than the film, because it looks really good, but a piece of shit looks really good if I hire a good cinematographer. Not to mention that this film rips off of so many others, but especially Star Wars. At number 4, surprisingly, is 50 Shades Freed. Honestly, the intro I had for my review of this film back in February is still one of my favorite intros in my videos of all time, if I might say so myself. When I was making the list, I was looking at the movie reviews I made this year to know what movies I liked and didn't like. And to my surprise, I had 50 Shades Freed early in February, and I was like, that came out this year. It seems so much longer ago that it came out. These films never worked. These films were never anything more than Twilight fanfiction. These actors are legit good actors, both Dakota Johnson and Jamie Dornan, and I honestly never seen sex portrayed in such an unsexy manner, and 2 people so uncomfortable with having sex, or pretending to have sex at least, on camera. I'm just glad their pain, and ours, is over. At number 3, we have a film that didn't look any good from the trailers, but honestly, if you had told me in February that this film would be worse than 50 Shades Freed, I would have not believed you. Robin Hood is so freaking bad. Oh look, it's Jamie Dornan again. I didn't even realize that until now. Nobody believed in this film, clearly. Everyone is not bringing their A game. I don't know why so many great actors agreed to be on this. Ben Mendelsohn, who can usually chew the scenery up to no end and make boring stuff seem fun, at least for him on screen. I could tell you maybe that he was having fun, but he clearly wasn't in this film. Every scene with him is him sitting down and talking or standing up and talking. He doesn't even have a freak out scene. He doesn't even yell at any point in this film. It's just boredom, boredom, boredom. The visual effects almost seem unfinished during a chase scene in this film, and Jamie Foxx, who supposedly doesn't have his left hand, at one point you can just see his left hand covered in tissue, in blue tissue that they would eventually erase from the screen, but his hand is still there, like closed up and surrounded by wrappings. Number 2 is a film that nobody believed in. It flopped at the box office, and it's Slenderman. It's Slenderman. I don't even know what to say anymore. It's Slenderman. The name alone should tell you that this film will suck, because the hype for Slenderman is like 5 years old at this point. Sony didn't believe in this film. They didn't want to market it at all. They sent out the second trailer like 1 month before the movie came out. And not to mention the atrocious ending where Slenderman wants to turn people into trees. That's what he does in this film. He turns people into trees. Oh. What do you have to say about that, Thanos? Do you have anything to say to Slenderman? You should have deleted Slenderman from history. That's what sucks about being random. And at number 1, my worst film of the year, we have a film that I have to apologize to you guys for. Because I, for some reason, just felt sad after watching this film, and I gave it a positive grade. Not a very positive grade, but just a passable positive grade. When I make a list, and I bet when my fellow movie reviewers make a list, we make these lists and we rank these films according to how we felt, how they hit us emotionally, and how we perceived the story. This film is anything but life itself. This film is horrible. This film is the most manipulative piece of money grab that I've ever witnessed. I hate this film. This film doesn't know what story it's trying to tell. It doesn't know whose story it's trying to tell. It mixes all these characters and all these timelines up, and everyone knows each other somehow. The person who's narrating in the beginning is not narrating anymore at the middle, and it's not narrating at the end, because all along the story that we've been witnessing, at the end we discover that it's the daughter of the supposed main characters of this film. It doesn't make any sense. Just because Olivia Wilde got ran over by a bus doesn't mean that the kid who's on the bus will automatically be her daughter's boyfriend and eventual husband in the future. Look, life itself is like a dude that you know, and this dude is standing next to a child. This dude punches a child and then says, "Oh my god, look at this child, it's been brutalized. Don't you feel sorry for it?" That's what life itself asks of you. That's how manipulative, how fake life itself is. Oscar Isaac, super likable and kind of likable character. You're rooting for him at the first 10 minutes of this film. He kills himself before even meeting his daughter, followed by a series of betrayals and backstabbings and people being assholes and nothing making sense. A convoluted mess of a story that I even feel bad about calling it a story. Life itself, I'm sorry, but I hate you. You're awful. You are the worst piece of garbage I had to witness this year at a film festival of all places. And after all that, I hope you guys had fun watching this video as much as I had making it. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know your top 10 or 15 or 20 or just top 5 or 3 worst films of 2018 in the comments below. Go check out my list for the top 10 best movies of the year if you haven't yet. And don't forget, if you like any of these films, I'm not attacking you personally. I am glad you liked them and you didn't have as bad a time as I did watching them. Thank you so much for watching, my beautiful geekies. You guys are the best. Don't forget to come back on January 1st to check out my most anticipated movies for 2019. Thank you so much once again. So until then, stay beautiful, stay geeky, and if you haven't done so yet, click the subscribe button and click the bell so we can be geeky united.